Hello, out there somewhere. This is episode 1 of the Unfake It Till You Make It podcast. I'm your host, Tony Soriano.
This podcast will talk you through the ups and downs in the entertainment industry.
Each and every one of you has a talent, but it's a tough business. People gonna tell you, get a real job.
By introducing you to sustainable, moldable methods in a crazy, cutthroat world.
Let us harness our willpower and take real action.
Don't let it get you down.
Join me, brothers and sisters, on a journey through trials and tribulations.
Unfake it till you make it.
I'm starting this podcast to figure out how to thrive in the entertainment industry without the fake smiles. I will interview people that I look up to in some way or another that have ingenuity and willpower in their specific field. That may range from film producers to cameramen to jugglers to magicians to managers, stuntmen to studio musicians and many other creatives that either perform or are the interworkings behind the scenes. We will retrace their steps to success and aim to reveal how they've managed to find the path, stay on the path, and make the path work best for them and remain just sane enough to not get lost. This is a cutthroat industry, and I've been in or around it for most of my life. Which leads me and you to your next question. Who am I? I am an artist. What does that mean? You might ask. It means a lot of solitude, a lot of frustration and struggle, and often daily depressing outlooks with just enough optimism to fight through it all while laughing, so I might get the beautiful disasters in my head out and into some kind of palpable form. Over the years, I've lived in warehouses, gyms, offices, and friends' garages to keep my overhead low and to keep my creative output high. Along the way, I've also adopted what I call the act of fine-tuning my personal problematic idiosyncrasies, the never-ending trials and tribulations to becoming a better me. It's been a long road, but I can finally call myself a working writer, producer, director, and actor in the film industry. If you want to know more about my unconventional adventures, from working out with Arnold Schwarzenegger to launching rockets nearby a leper colony in French Guiana, you can read my full bio at unfakeittillyoumakeit.com. Getting on with the show. In today's episode, amongst several topics, we talk about teaching, the two-way gift, magicians in a magical world, and the concept of not having a choice to be an entertainer. I am proud to introduce to you my very first guest, a remarkable Los Angeles magician and entrepreneur, also one of my best friends, Mr. Chad Nelson. Thank you so much for listening. We are in a magic environment. It's a little secret place of Chad's. I'm on a stage, and he is sitting in a nice, comfortable chair in front of me. So, why was your day great? 3 words.
I'm in love, and I was in nature, and
That was more than 3.
I did magic.
Nice.
Pretty great day.
Tell us who you are, what you're about.
Yeah. In some way and somehow, way that I've carved out today, in this moment, I am doing magic professionally in many different facets and forms, and I love it. And my background is the winded story that we don't have time to get into. But one day you might hear it in a form, whether that be meeting me in writing or video or podcast, I don't know, but...
So you're a magician.
Yes.
All right, you're a wonderful magician. You're also a teacher.
Yes.
And I know you had a special DVD called Surfaced.
That was a lifetime ago, yes.
Yeah, and I actually never received a copy, so I would love to get that off of you one day.
Of course,
soon.
yeah, I would love to give you one.
And I also know that you're part of Dan and Dave's Art of Magic. You're one of the artists.
Oh, Dan and Dave are amazing magicians, amazing creators, innovators, superstars in my book.
Yes.
Incredible human beings, and they've created an entire pathway for magicians, for creators, for people who are interested in learning magic, for an education, for products, from conventions to cardistry to magic. They're unstoppable, unbelievable. I'm in awe of them every day. And if you don't know who they are, you should look into their whole world, because you'll be fascinated.
Definitely. You have 12 amazing performance techniques on their site that are based on 20 plus years of you perfecting your magic, right?
Yeah.
You have also invented some magic techniques and new tricks that were game changers. And one that's very notably is in the serious magician world is called clip shift. Can you explain or paint a picture of what happens in this without, of course, giving away the gold?
Well, it's a secret technique that does secret things. So that's all you need to know. You should check it out, though. I love it. It's
Okay.
amazing.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely an eye-opener when I first saw it. Think of someone appearing in front of you when
Right.
they weren't there,
Right,
basically.
right,
That's
right,
how it felt.
Right.
So you're an entertainer, and competition's always there. How did you come up with something such as the clip shift, something new with magic, when there's so much competition out there? And what drove you to not give up?
I would have to say that the competition is completely irrelevant. There is no competition, and I think when you're working on anything, there should be no basis for comparison. There should be no push to pass someone else. It should be a complete personal endeavor to see what's possible, period. If it's possible, whether that be catching the biggest fish in the ocean, or swimming faster than someone else, or creating a painting, or making new music. I think you use the competition as a reference point, but you don't use it as a fire. Because if you do, then you will get burned. You will burn yourself, because you're now creating from a place of dishonesty. You're working with the external when the creation should be born from the internal. And then when you come from that place, it will be a real strive for authenticity in your own work. So, I mean, to not give up, that's a struggle, but you have to really want it. That move that you were talking about before is very difficult. It's not easy. I wouldn't recommend it for a beginner, or I wouldn't even recommend it to a professional. It's really a hard move. It's kind of ridiculous, but people seem to love it, and people show me all the time. I get emails, and magicians talk about it, and they seem to love it because of the difficulty, because of the impossibility, because there's a payoff, and they've seen the results of the payoff, which is 6-year-olds doing it, 12-year-olds doing it, 50-year-olds doing it. So they've seen people accomplish something that's hard, and they know that it's possible, so they want to do it. So it's almost an ego, but there's also a real satisfaction, because it can be used in the real world, which I do every day. I use it, and other people do as well. So
yeah, you were talked about and discussed on a lot of magic blogs and forums like theory11.com. And from what I've read, and from some of your students that I've actually met in person, you are really a good teacher. And I've read about that on these forums. Can you talk about how you approach teaching, and then who are your favorite teachers? That's
interesting. Who are your favorite teachers part. I approach teaching. I I'm in love with sharing magic with people who are in love with magic. I think it's one of the best things that we can do in any field, whether in any field. And I think I read that in a book when I was in my early 20s about how important it is and how much of a deeper understanding you can develop and understand in the teaching process. And I really have come to love it. I think about, give or take, in a floating way, but between 9 and 12 students every month, and they range from all different ages, from 40 to 30, 35 to 12 to 14 to 7, and at every level I'm completely in awe about their love and their drive and their commitment. And the only students I work with have that. They have that, like, people call it bit by the magic bug. And you see that, and it's just the way that they interpret the same material or different material, or how their brain works with the same things. It's unbelievable. It's so cool. And then for me to teach them how I want magic to be performed, or how I want it to be understood, and then for them to go out and perform it, it's almost as if I'm performing in different locations all around the world. But I'm not there, because I was guiding them through the process, through the presentation, through the technique, and they're sharing this now with the world. So it warms my heart to such a big degree to know that I had a little tiny influence in their development as far as sharing magic, period. As far as performing magic for people when available, whether that be their family or friends, or whether that be professionally, or whether that be for the Magic Castle or a private party, or just at school, or at a social thing at work, whatever it is, to know that I had a little bit of help in that area, it just is unbelievable. And then as your second question, who are some of my favorite magic teachers? All of them. I love all of them. They all have something to offer for me. I guess some of them I can't really talk about because they're secret. Okay. And I guess a lot of the teachers I admired and respect were some of my college professors and some of my high school professors, who they had that same passion, that same desire to translate or communicate the concepts that they were wanting us to learn and understand. And I guess, I think about those professors or those teachers all the time, because they put everything else aside and put the information that they wanted to communicate first. They put all their emotional stuff aside. They put everything aside and was there with the students or with the class. And I think that's what a real teacher is. Just, you have to be fully there, and it has to be customized for that group.
That's rewarding.
It's very rewarding.
I've never had really a good teaching experience as far as me being the teacher, because I'm pretty strict in dictatorship, which I'm working on. So I admire good teachers, and I love them, and I wish I could be like them sometimes.
One more thing on that. Yeah. It's very interesting to interpret how someone's learning, and to kind of rearrange how you have to guide them. It's unbelievable. It's so fascinating to sit with someone and see the speed at which they need, and to customize the strengths and the weaknesses. And it's just a beautiful thing. That's like a real gift. A real gift is being with someone at their own, their dominant senses, and how they're interpreting the world and gathering information. To be with them as they're doing it, as they're learning, to be with them and to guide them at the right pace is the best gift you could ever give someone, whether that's personal training at the gym, teaching someone a new song on the piano, whether that's teaching someone how to cook, whether that's teaching someone how to speak or talk, or a new language or math or science or anything. Teaching people is how everything works, how everyone does everything. Your parents taught you how to tie your shoe. Your parents taught you how to, take care of yourself. Like, everything is taught, and
it's an art.
And and that's what we're doing with magic when we perform. We are teaching them. That's why we study magic so hard, that we practice so hard and rehearse the routines so much, because we're basically just understanding how to teach them what we want them to know, which is wonder.
That makes a lot of sense.
So the teaching actually helps me perform better.
That's very inquisitive. Yeah. That's why I want to get better at teaching, because I know that I can learn more by teaching.
Yeah, and you just got to start. Grab a student, teach them how to work a camera. Teach them how to set up a sound system. Teach them how to, you've taught me things in the gym, which I'm grateful for. You've taught me many things. I've taught you many things. I think that's why we're great friends, is because we constantly teach each other things. We're sharing what we've known in our existence with each other, and that's the best gift that you could ever give someone. You can't buy that gift, because that gift is interpretation, experience, knowledge, and time, which is priceless.
Yep.
The time that you take to teach me something is the best gift that you could ever give me, because you can't get that back. And you're sharing what you know, what you've learned with someone else. Unbelievable beauty.
At what point does a novice magician, in this case, shift into a professional? And how does it look?
There is no path. The path is a personal thing. There is no guidebook. There is no do this, do that. To sum it up simply, is if you get paid again and again and again, and you're doing the work. You're doing the work, meaning that you're showing up and you're representing yourself and magic in a way that's respectable. But that's not easy, and that's not a path that can be laid out for just a guidebook. You can read every book on how to be a professional or a magician or an entertainer, but you just need experience. You need to get out there. You got to keep doing it. You got to do what you got to do to make it happen. And I'm still in the process of learning, 100%.
Okay, well put. The entertainment industry. You are definitely part of it. Can we talk about not only being an entertainer, but enduring the entertainment industry? And I mean the struggles and like the pitfalls and below zero temperature. How do you deal with that? And what do you have to say about that?
Well, I've had this conversation with another best friend of mine, and he's also a magician. And I've joked around with him, but it's not a joke. It's basically, I've told him, I couldn't stop if I wanted to. And that's the truth. You can't. Like, when you get into something that you love, or you get into something that you want to pursue, you literally can't stop. You can't just give up. You can't, because there's no other way. There's no other option. You couldn't. I can't. There's no way. Obviously, it sounds like black and white, but there's a gray area, of course. But I'm talking about, you don't get into these things. You don't become an entertainer. You don't become a comedian. You don't become a writer or an artist because you want to. You get into it because you have to. There is no other option. You don't see any other pathways. There's nothing there that interests you but this interest. So if you wake up one day and you decide to do something after decades of something else, maybe that's not the right thing for you to do. Because I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying you should do whatever you want. It's your life. But there's got to be some type of driving force, some type of...
Where did it come from for you? Where's the root? Do you know? Do you remember? Was there a changing point in your life?
Well, I never would think that I would be doing magic for money. I was obsessed with magic at an early age because I got a magic set, but I didn't like any of those plastic props. I'll just give you the quick story. I didn't like the plastic props, and then I saw sleight of hand at school at a talent show, which I was in, but not for magic. And
what were you in for?
Some dance routine, and with friends, just as joking around. And I saw someone do sleight of hand, and I was completely fascinated with it. In fact, so fascinated, I took money out of my pocket at 12 years old, $5, and paid the man to teach me how it worked. Not the man, it was a kid. But $5 is a lot of money for a 12-year-old. All the money, actually. And I paid him immediately, and he taught me this sleight of hand, and I was just practicing hours and hours and hours a day, and I would read any book I could get my hands on, and it was just this, it was like a secret obsession that my friends knew I did, but didn't know how deep I was down the rabbit hole. They didn't know that I was staying up till 5 a.m. reading magic books. They didn't know how much I was practicing. I would show them tricks maybe a couple times a week, but they didn't know that it was like this crazy obsession. And yeah, it keeps spiraling, because once you get in it, it's just, like I said, you fall into it.
I want to borrow a question from Tim Ferriss, but alter it. What would you tell your 12-year-old self to focus on, or 15-year-old self, something in those years, if you could go back in time?
I would probably focus more on health, and I don't know.
Your 12-year-old self or 15-year-old self is here right now. What are your words?
To him, I would be like, I don't know.
We can come back to it.
It's too much of a secret.
Think of it if it comes. Tell me.
No, I would just say, yeah, focus on your fitness. Girls will always be there, and don't get distracted by women, and work on your fitness.
You have a little bit of an attraction to women, do you?
Yeah. And then, just, I would say hang out with more mentors. Do whatever it takes to hang out with mentors at the earliest possible time that you can. If you have any opportunity, do whatever it takes to hang out with mentors at the earliest age, at the earliest stage possible, whatever it takes. Whatever it takes. If that means taking out their trash, if that means like refilling their gas, whatever it takes, like do it. Hang out with really, really great people, and even if that means being silent in the same room with them, figure it out. But at the earliest stage possible, hang out with the greats.
So important. So I'm kind of going back to this, and it doesn't have to be in the entertainment industry, but if so, it could be relevant or whatever. But what was your all-time low in your life? Okay, that's one question. And just a follow-up question is, how did you truly pick yourself up and continue to fight the battle to either get out of it or overcome that?
Well, in my early 20s, I was broke, and I had no money, and I had rent due. I was living on my own.
How'd you feel?
I was depressed because my girlfriend and I broke up, and I had no money coming in because I was depressed. Just a spiral of not good place. transition, of not knowing, not understanding, still developing, immature, so many things. And yeah, I had to struggle and really fight and make money from magic in ways that I didn't agree with, and hustle tips and make a living. And I would go out not at established places for working and hustle tips with magic, and I wouldn't leave the house. And sometimes it would take an hour, sometimes it would take 2 hours, but I would not leave the house until I left the house knowing that I was performing magic for only performing magic, not for money. And the reason why I knew how important that was one, because of how much I love magic, and two, because as soon as people had this inclination that you were working for their tips or for their gratuity, it doesn't come. The hungry don't get fed. But as soon as I was coming from the place of pure performance, of just showing people a great time through magic and through my passion, my love for it, the money would rain. It would just come. People would hand me so much money. And it was because I wasn't in a place of needing it, of desiring it, because I was only in a place of wanting to perform magic for them. And then it would come. And so I had to get into that state before I left the house. And like I said, sometimes it would take 30 minutes, sometimes it would take 2 hours, or sometimes it would take 5 minutes. But what I'm saying is that it's such a beautiful lesson for me, and such a great struggle that I was in, but I made it work, and the universe took care of me, and magic took care of me, and got through that rough patch. The beggar mentality, or the need for a reward, for an offer of a gift, is the wrong arena to be in. Because when you provide something for free without any expectation, then the universe understands that you're coming from a place of a heart, of a gift, without any expectations of something in return. And that's...
Can you talk about carrots?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
It's an inside joke between he and I, but it's not really a joke. I thought that was maybe your clicking point.
No.
Okay. All right. I'm going to throw some other questions at you. This last year, what were your biggest mistakes personally and professionally?
Personally, getting involved in relationships that were, in my heart, I knew weren't the best path. But in hindsight, I'm so grateful for all of the ones that weren't the greatest, because they were all necessary for the next phase or the next chapter. So I really have no regret in that area. Personally, I could be more of service to the people I love. I can be there more. I'm hard on myself on that because life's so short, but we can always call more. We can always text more. We can always give more time to the people who mean so much to us.
What
professionally?
What mistakes have you learned from?
Professionally, I mean, the biggest advice in any arena, in any entertainment field, is to follow up on the golden leads that you find yourself in every single day. Is to follow up and follow up again, and to build relationships, which take time. And when you mix the building of a relationship into business, there's like a weird trigger inside the brain that thinks one is in one compartment and one is in another compartment. But when you really understand both relationships and business is that you want them to be working in the same areas in the brain. You don't want to compartmentalize them because this is your life. You want to work with people who are your friends. You want to work with people who you care about. You want to work with people who you respect. You want to work with people who respect you, your time, and that means that these people become part of your life. These people are in your life for maybe decades, for 20 years, for 50 years. These relationships will last your life. And when you really come at it like that, then you start to create opportunities and you start to follow up in ways that are more meaningful, ways that are more lasting, not just this for that, not just I do this, you do that. It's not about that. It's about we are crafting a life together. You are in my life now. You're paying me a paycheck, but no, you are in my life. So let's build a relationship that benefits us both, and let's stay with each other in our lives. Let's share our lives. And I think that's an incredible way to look at business, to be an entertainer, to create a life kind of on your own business, so to speak, your own brand. I think to look at it like that is just a beautiful way to come from, a good place to understand.
Very true. Good sense there. You know, when I watch you do magic, it's almost like what you just said happens for a lifetime, even if you're just performing for 5 minutes for someone. So I feel like through your magic, and many magicians, that when they connect with people, they're enjoying. The great magicians are enjoying that connection, and the people are. It's like an equal benefit. There's no I'm better than you involved in a good, entertainer or magician, and I think that was well put. Having said that, there are a lot of fakers out there. How do you unfake it till you make it? And what I mean by that is stay real in the entertainment industry, because they often chew you up and spit you out with those fake smiles in this industry.
I mean, you gotta fake it, baby. You gotta fake it. You need the fake smile. No, I'm kidding. You have to, you gotta go through. You gotta learn. You gotta find your reference points, and you gotta learn how to calibrate and, move through the yucky parts. But there's no real answer to that. But one of my mentors growing up, he said, "What's the quickest way to get famous?" And I said, "I don't know. What's the quickest way to get famous?" And he said, "Tell people you're famous." And that's a pretty good.
It's a good one.
It's a good hack.
And you know what? It's not faking it. Yeah. If you really believe it, if you feel that you're worthy and you're valuable, you are famous whenever you walk into the room and say hello to someone, shake their hand, give them a real smile, and you don't have to say those words, of course, but you can represent that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, and then to the second part of your question is like, you just in growing up and getting older, you understand the power of no. You understand how to navigate no, and you understand how to stay true to what you believe is right. And it's hard, especially when you're coming up in any field, in a continuation, when you get offers that are tempting, but they're not right, or you don't have food on the table, or you need extra money. You might compromise your values to get a check, and you will do those things, and you might not. And with growth and time, you'll slowly eliminate that entirely, and you realize that you want to do good work, and that's like the ultimate goal. Is not the money, is to do good work for good people, to build a great experience, and to have your own memory, not just theirs, but together, you and your audiences are cruise or whatever field you're in, to have a memory palette of experiences to reference of a life that you are proud of.
When you're at your worst or you're not doing so well as an entertainer, how does health play a part in your life and get you out of the struggles or on your way to better relationships or more wealth?
Well, you really can't do anything unless you take care of yourself. And so you need to take care of yourself, whatever that might be for you. You have to define that for you. You have to understand that your body is energy and that you need to take care of your energy, and that is in the form of nutrition and movement. So you have to understand the importance of those. How are you supposed to do anything if you can't move through the world in the way that you want to? How are you supposed to do anything if you can't stand on your feet for 15 or 20 hours a day? How are you supposed to do anything? How are you supposed to think? How are you supposed to operate? How are you supposed to work long hours if your nutrition's not handled? If you can't do any of those, then you can't really do any of the rest. So you can do the rest, but not as good.
Half-heartedly.
I mean, yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
There's plenty of unhealthy, successful people. There's tons of them.
There are, but there's got to be the limits of not being able to fulfill what you have in front of you, you know?
Oh, they fulfill it. Too much.
Yeah. You know, I always think about health. It's like I want to just be able to climb the highest mountain that I get to, because you want to go to the top, you know, of every place you see, you know, as a human. So I think that's very important to stay in shape and get that nutrients in your body as well. Thank you so much. And I wanted to give you the chance now to tell the listeners about you. And no, you did that already. I want you to let them know about any websites or how to reach out to you or for your teachings or magical services.
You can find me. You can email me at iknowmagic@gmail.com. That's my personal email address. Send me an email if you have any questions. Love to hear from you.
After all that wonder, that magic, if listeners can take away one thing from this episode on surviving and working towards thriving in the entertainment industry, what would it be? Like, what one step can they take now?
Well, the first step that anyone should take is to drink more water, because you can't do any of it without drinking water. So understand the importance of that one act of drinking water, and then that's a good starting point, because that's easy. You've already done it before. You already have a reference point for it. And if you believe that that one act is the starting point for your dream, then today, right now, you have no excuse to do the first step in the process of starting your dream, which is to take a sip of water, finish the glass, and that means you are already ahead of everyone, because that's part of your dream. That's the first step. I just told you that's the first step of your dream. So now you got the first step out of the way by drinking that glass of water, and that means you're closer already to your dream. The next step would be to write that dream in detail every fucking day. Write it down and read it and edit it and read it and believe it and see it. Just like all the NBA players who envision their swooshes. You need to envision that dream, and you need to believe that it can be real, because if you can envision it, then it is real. You just have to figure out how to do it, and then you have to add hard work. A lot of hard work.
You know, before we wrap up, what are we doing tomorrow morning?
Do you want to do the whole circuit?
So our circuit is, we've been doing this for a year and a half,
2
easy.
years, yeah.
Where we wake up really early, between 6 and 7, get into the ocean before 8 in the really nice cold ocean. And what happens after that?
And then we probably just do some cartwheels, and then we hit the gym and then work out hard.
Yeah, that cold plunge in the ocean is just an eye opener.
Yeah.
And we win the day every time after doing that.
Yeah,
no
the
matter
day
what.
is incredible no matter what.
Well, last time I didn't want to go in, and I knew
he tried to fool me. He tried to get me to the gym, and then I had to call him. He didn't answer my call, and then finally answered the second call, and then I got him to the beach. Because the resistance that you feel for going into something that you want to do is the battle every day for all of us, for all entertainers or artists, is that you want to do this, but then you build resistance for it because of an illusion, which is your mind seeking comfort and immediate pleasure instead of a little bit of discomfort, a little bit of pain for massive amounts of pleasure, massive amounts of lasting greatness. And that's why we go in the ocean when we don't want to.
It's the perfect time to go.
That's why I go in the ocean.
When you don't want to, that means you should go.
You have to.
It's perfect.
When you are tricking your friends, you're tricking yourself to not go, that's when you have to go. Because you have to build that muscle inside your brain to know that when it sees resistance, you must move past it. Anyways, that's what we do in the morning.
Thanks again so much, and I know you got to get going, so have an amazing night, and we'll have to have a part 2 sometime in the future.
Absolutely. Much magical love.
That is all for this episode, everyone. I hope you picked up some magical insights that may assist you with your endeavors to make it in the entertainment world. And if you enjoyed what you heard, it would mean so much to me if you left a review and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or wherever you heard about this show. The feedback and comments will really inspire me to continue and transform this podcast into a place where creatives in the entertainment industry can find multiple methods and strategies from the best, or those that are just 5 or 6 steps ahead of them that can be molded to their own ventures. You can also visit unfakeittillyoumakeit.com for show notes, links, and sources for this episode. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Unfake It Till You Make It podcast. For detailed sources and show notes for this episode, visit www.unfakeittillyoumakeit.com. Until next time, get up, get going, and get creative.